Okay, so in this video, we're going to have a look at Bayonet Charge by Ted Hughes. So Bayonet Charge then, the context of the poem is that Ted Hughes served in the RAF, but he never saw any combat. His father served in the army and was in the trenches, and he survived the massacre at Gallipoli. We can also see influences of Wilfred Owen with the subject matter of the poem. So the structure of the poem then is written in 3 stanzas, and he uses a mix of long and short lines to suggest the speed that the soldier is moving at. So the first stanza is quite fast-paced, and the language and structure reflect that, whereas the second one slows down before the pace picks up again in the third and final stanza. And then the themes then, so we get power, because obviously this soldier that he's talking about, this unnamed soldier, has very little power about his own fate, about his own destiny. He's in this war that he perhaps doesn't agree with, perhaps doesn't know what he's fighting for. And then because it's a war, because it's fighting, there's the element of conflict that he has within himself and against the enemy combatants. So stanza 1 then. Suddenly he awoke and was running raw, in raw seamed hot khaki, his sweat heavy, stumbling across a field of clods towards a green hedge that dazzled with rifle fire, hearing bullets smacking the belly out of the air. He lugged a rifle numb as a smashed arm, the patriotic tear that had brimmed in his eye, sweating like molten iron from the centre of his chest. So we start then with an adverb, suddenly. The poem starts quick, it starts fast. He awoke and was running. So straight away, he's awake and he's gone, he's off, he's running. And so we get some alliteration there again to add that emphasis of speed, that it's happening fast. So running raw. Okay, so it runs through quick. And then raw, there's a couple of connotations of raw. So it could be like he's emotional pain, the emotional rawness of what he's going through, what he's seeing, and then the physical pain. So he's raw. We get a contrast there. Stumbling across a field of clods towards a green hedge. So obviously we get this idea of these of this battleground. It's torn up. It's the clods. He's stumbling through it. But he goes towards a nice green hedge. It's quite colourful. And then we get a couple of examples of enjambment. If we look at this one here, that dazzled with rifle fire, hearing bullets. So the line continues onto the next line. So hearing bullets. But the first word we get is bullets, with the emphasis on that word. So we see that, he's in a dangerous situation. Those bullets are firing past him. They're smacking the belly out of the air. So the bullets themselves are given, because they're smacking, they're given an element of personification to highlight how powerful they are. And it also gets some slight dehumanization there of the main character, because the bullets are given the character and personification, whereas he lugged a rifle numb as a smashed arm, so he's less than human at this point. So the patriotic tear that had brimmed in his eye, so we perhaps get a bit of an idea there. That's why he joined the army. That's why he's fighting, because he believes in king and country. That's brimmed in his eye. And then it's juxtaposed with this idea of sweating like molten iron from the centre of his chest. So he's somehow less than human. He's got this iron in the centre of his chest. So so now he's sweating like molten iron. So we get this idea of the humanization, that he's got that simile there, that he's like molten iron. He's hot and he's scared, and it's somehow perhaps mechanical or machinery ideas coming into play. So stanza 2 then, in bewilderment then, he almost stopped. In what cold clockwork of the stars and the nations was he, the hand pointing that second? He was running like a man who had jumped up in the dark and runs listening between his footfalls for the reason of his still running, and his foot hung like statuary in mid-stride. Then the shot slashed furrows. So it slows down now. So we start off with in bewilderment. So he's confused about what's going on. He almost stops. He's running, but he almost stops because he doesn't know what's happening. So in what cold clockwork of the stars and nations do we get? So this could be a metaphor that could be read a couple of ways here, this clockwork. So he could be, it could be a criticism of the war, the leaders of the war, that they're using these lives of these men almost as toys. So like toy clockwork soldiers. Or another one is that another reading perhaps is that he's just a cog in the machine, He's just this little insignificant cog in the machine, and he's got no control over himself. He's got no control over his life, and he's caught up in the machinery, the clockwork, the moving, so the clockwork of the stars and of the nations. So these things that are going around, and he's just caught up in it. So he's just running. So and it continues. He was running like a man who has jumped up in the dark and runs, and he's still trying to find out the reason. He doesn't know why. So was he that hand? Was he the hand pointing that second? So is he part of that machinery? Is he part of that, the moving forward of this war? And again, we get the enjambment. He was running like a man who had jumped up in the dark and runs. So he doesn't even know at this point now. All those reasons that he might have had, that patriotic tear's gone. He's listening. He wants a reason to run. And now it's just becoming about survival. So we get some punctuation. So we get the rhetorical question. We get the full stop, the first one of the poem, just to slow things down ever so slightly, just so it's a bit more, so it's just a little bit more peaceful and quieter. Well, not necessarily peaceful, but slower. So he's not at that fast pace anymore. And then we get some alliteration to end it again. Then the shot slashed furrows, threw up a yellow hair that rolled like a flame and crawled in a threshing circle, its mouth wide open, silent, its eyes standing out. He plunged past with his bayonet towards the green hedge. King, honour, humanity, dignity, etc. Dropped like luxuries in a yelling alarm to get out of that blue crackling air. His terror, touchy dynamite. So that's the end of it. Then that's the third and final stanza. So if you just go back slightly, then the shot slashed furrows, threw up a yellow hair. So we have that enjambment now again over the stanzas, and we get the metaphor here of the yellow hair. And again, there's a couple of readings for this. So obviously, hair could be scared, could be afraid of what's happening, and then obviously yellow is the sort of colour we associate with cowardness. So it could be that he's coward, perhaps, and he's scared of it, or it could be an enemy that's trying to run away. Or there is again the idea of him being caught up in something much bigger than himself. So crawled in a threshing circle. So he could be the hare caught in this wider sort of like threshing, farming machinery, and he's caught up in it. And as the hare, he can't get away from it. So he's sort of stuck in this wider thing that he has no control over. So he has no power over himself. He's in this conflict that he can't get out of. And then we get the repetition then of this green hedge, this sort of idea, this quite nice idea. Or the hedge could also represent, I suppose, the trench, the depth of the trench. We get a list here then of all those things: king, honour, humanity, dignity. So he's listing the things that he may have signed up for that mattered to him when he started his career as a soldier. King, honour, human dignity. So he's got these reasons to fight for. But they're dropped like luxuries in a yelling alarm. So they're gone. He's charging now, and those noble reasons for fighting, he's dropped them because they are luxuries. They don't matter anymore. So drop like luxuries in a yelling alarm to get out of that blue crackling air. So get that atmospheric language, that crackling air. His terror's touchy dynamite. It's a bit of a metaphor there. So his terror now is starting to take over, and at any point it could just explode and consume him because he's that scared of what's happening to him. Okay, so there's that idea of a metaphor there. But then again, of course, the TT gives us that alliteration. Okay. Thank you for watching.